2-on-2. Ready, break.
Hello and welcome back to Two in the Huddle. My name, as always, is David, and this strapping gentleman across from me is my very good friend Shadi. Shadi, how are you? You were away again this weekend. More wedding bells, but not yours. Not your wedding.
Not my wedding again. The third wedding this year was good fun. German wedding, but here in Barcelona. And I was on mojito duty, so I had something to do at this wedding. I had an actual job, and
Nice.
It was quite fun. Yeah.
Good. Did you have to dress up especially, or was it just purely bringing the mojito juice, the sauce, if you will?
Bring the mojito juice sauce only. I was the only one with a suit because it was a very, very hot summer day, but I'm nothing if not committed when it comes to weddings. I'm wearing suits. It doesn't matter how hot it is. It was a nice linen suit though. And,
Good.
The mojito thing worked in my favor because, as you know, I'm not the biggest dancer. I try to avoid the dance floor. So that gave me a nice little excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Welcome again, and glad you had another nice weekend. Today we are back down talking about our division breakdowns. Right, this is kind of the trend that we are on. We've already hit a couple in our previous episodes, and if you haven't had the chance to go and listen to those, please take a second to go and check out what we've been talking about already. Today we are talking about a very interesting conference indeed. We are going to be talking about the NFC East. So that comprises of the New York Giants, the Washington Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, sticking in our kind of method for how we've been breaking down these divisions, myself and Shadi will take a team each. Once we have finished giving the breakdowns and ideas and storylines to watch out for the teams, we will absolutely come together and give a little bit of a prediction of where we think these teams will rank up, kind of 1 to 4 in their division as well. Before we kick off, and Shadi, I'm throwing to you first, just a fun little fact. We are exactly 3 days, well, it'll probably be 2 days by the time this actually comes to air, away from the NFL preseason starting. The Hall of Fame game between the Cardinals and the Panthers is on Thursday night if you're in the US, but actually technically it's Friday morning for us here in Europe. So we are very close to having football back on television, which is really exciting. We are going to continue our division breakdowns right up until the season kicks off, and then we will kind of get into our normal flow. But just wanted to bring that up because I'm excited. Shadi, before we kick on, scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the season to start and why?
12, of course. That has to be the answer. Why? Because it's the first season since the, 5-6 years that I'm following where I'm probably the most knowledgeable as ever before, have done the most research, know all the storylines. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
So feel way more connected to what's going on, which is quite different to just watching Red Zone every week. So I'm really looking forward to that. And just, there's so many cool storylines, so many cool rookies coming, especially on the defensive side coming into the season that I want to see. And we're going to talk about some of them today as well, right? Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs.
Yes.
So quite excited, quite pumped, to be honest. It's cool.
Good. Cool. No, I'm very excited as well. So let us know in the comments what you're most looking forward to with the upcoming season coming up. Again, if you're not subscribed, give us a follow. It's free, I promise. But it does help us grow the channel going into the season. So without further ado, we have done the AFC North, we have done the NFC West, and today we will tackle the NFC East. Shadi, you are up first because I went first last week. Who are we kicking off with today?
The Giants, the New York Giants. But before I do that, just want to clarify that I realize this looks like a beer. We don't promote alcohol. This is not a beer.
Yeah. But if it
just
was
a lemonade, Club Mate lemonade. Yeah.
Okay, good.
There you go. Just for legal reasons, right? Okay, the New York Giants. Quite simple, the storyline of the New York Giants this year, I feel. Not as complex as, for example, the Seahawks that we talked about a lot last week. I mean, I have to open this with a name that to a lot of you means something. To some of you, maybe not that much. John Harbaugh, the new head coach, or previous head coach of the Ravens, new head coach of the Giants. For anyone who does not follow this closely, I don't want to exclude anyone. Harbaugh just left Baltimore, where he built one of the most consistently successful teams in the league. Maybe, one-time Super Bowl winner, but also perennial playoff team for over a decade. Very solid team all the time. You don't want to play against the Ravens. So he's managed that, and he brought the culture to the Ravens. And he's now, after a long time, with the Giants, with the New York Giants, who, as a franchise, have won exactly one playoff game in the last 14 years and haven't even taken the NFC East title in the same stretch. So the exact opposite of what you could say about the Ravens, kind of, right? So it's a clash of cultures here almost. So, it's a really simple storyline of the season. It's basically kind of disciplined, culture first head coach, like this kind of, we call them CEO head coaches, right? We have different types of head coaches, but he's very described as a CEO head coach. He brings the culture in, but he's not necessarily the one going into the game plan in detail. Yeah. So can someone like this actually fix a franchise that is, by all accounts, broken at the moment? They're not used anymore to success. And sometimes when you are in this loop, in this debt cycle, we always say success breeds success, but also failure breeds failure, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if this type of head coach, this kind of type of culture head coach, can change this vicious cycle. And by all accounts, he himself said that he didn't take this job to rebuild slowly. He told The Athletic, for example, and I quote this, "I expect and want to make the playoffs next year." That's a statement coming to the Giants. What did they finish last season? They had a 4-13 season last season, and he comes in and says, "I want to go into the playoffs." That's a ballsy statement.
It is a very massively ballsy statement.
He's also on a very expensive deal, so I think he's one of the best paid head coaches now. Over $100 million for a 5-year deal. So it's big. He got bucks. He got the bag. Big deal. So it's a Giants basically say, hey, you come in and we get the full package. You basically take our franchise, do with it what you want, but give us success. And he's coming into a roster that already has 2 clear identities since last season, which was a bit of a hopeful season. If not, there were some injuries, but they developed some 2 clear identities. They got a really stacked pass rush. We're going to talk about that. And a very young quarterback going into his second year, and a very young running back going into his second year, both coming from injuries. So a bit of a X factor at the moment. We don't know, but they had promising signs.
For sure.
So that's the storyline with the Giants. I want to go a bit into the team identity, just quickly, for the people who haven't followed the Giants that much last season. Defensively, they're stacked, like I said, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and now they also got the 5th overall pick, Arvel Reese, on their roster. Linebacker, if I'm not wrong, but kind of outside linebacker, edge rusher. So another pass rush on there. Those are all, John Harbaugh himself even said we have 3 starters at outside linebacker at the moment with those players. They are all starting football players, so slice it how you want. Those guys are all going to play football. And that's a really luxurious situation on defense when it comes to pass rush. And that's what they want also. The new DC, the new defensive coordinator, Dennard Wilson, is calling his team organized chaos. So that's really what they want. They just want to attack from all sides. Multiple front, aggressive attack, and just get at the opposing quarterback. The problem is they've traded away Dexter Lawrence on defensive tackle. And their other defensive tackle, Roy Robertson Harris, first time I heard his name, is hurt. So they are not as stacked in the interior, which can be a problem for a defense that already comes out of a season of being one of the worst run defense. And if you can't stop the run, I don't know how well you can stop the pass. So for as much as they might be stacked on outside and on pass rush, interior line looks a bit shaky at the moment.
Good dodge.
Offensively, the storyline is also easy. It's all about the Jackson Dart era. Let's see if it's going to be an era or if he can step way up, or if he ends up like Kenny Pickett. Let's see. He has the confidence. He's this swaggy dude living his best life right now in New York, having a good time. Let's see if he can follow actions to his words. And if not, hey, there's still James Winston beside him as an insurance quarterback, and everyone loves James Winston, right?
Yeah, did he still play at the Super? No, where is it? He was at the World Cup. I saw him in every different jersey of every different international set of team fans. James Winston in the middle, eating a W.
Don't think I've ever seen a more positive guy, at least on what he portrays to the public, is amazing. It's really cool. Who knows how he is behind the scenes, but that is a cool person. So very young quarterback going into his second year. Strong supporting cast for him as well.
Very strong. Yeah.
A very healthy supporting cast now. They added Francis Mayoa to their O-line.
Yep.
They have Isaiah Likely that they've added to the team. That he came from the Ravens together with Harbaugh. So there's some flexibility there. Malik Neighbors is coming back from injury. Let's see how that goes. But if healthy, he had one of the best rookie seasons as a receiver, right? So he is a weapon if he can stay healthy.
He just got to play at MetLife with the knee shredding grass. But apart from that, everything's rosy.
Problem is behind Neighbors and maybe Darius Slayton. The receiver room is a bit shaky. There's Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster. So some veterans on there that are kind of, I mean, you can't really rely on Odell Beckham Jr. anymore, probably.
No.
And rookie Malachi Fields. So if one of the starting wide receivers, if one of Slayton or Neighbors goes down with injury, could become a problem. Wide receiver depth is not really there. So just to wrap this up, talked a lot already, but just to wrap this up, maybe quickly the strengths of this team summarized. Pass rush is elite and deep, very clear strength. O-line seems to be improved and healthy.
Yep.
Let's see what Francis Manoa can do. I know Malik Neighbors was not a big fan of that pick. I was, so let's see. Let's see who's right.
What does he know?
Yeah. They've improved their tight end position, but as I said, on weaknesses, interior D-line depth took a real hit. Let's see how they deal with that. And the whole how do you say this? The whole thesis or the whole argument you can make with the Giants leans and rests on the shoulders of a second-year quarterback and a second-year running back.
Yeah.
And they haven't even shown anything yet, right? Which is also something that rubs me the wrong way. We talk a lot about Jackson Dart in the media and about Cam Skadaboo, about Abdul Carter, about Malik Neighbors. It's a very young core. We talk about them a lot, but they're being talked about as if they've already accomplished something.
Yeah. Well, I think I give the Abdul Carter got ripped a little bit based on the stats, I think, towards the end of last year. I think.
Oh, he had a good year. He had a good year, though. Maybe not with the end product, but...
Yes, exactly. Statistically, he had a lot of stats that were like leading indicator stats, like a lot of hurries and make you flush outside the pocket as a quarterback, but he didn't do a lot of sacks. He didn't have a lot of pure numbers on the board. So I do think they are gassed up quite a bit, mainly because they're like internet kids, like Jackson Dart and Cam Skadaboo, Malik Neighbors are like these younger internet kids, and I think they get a lot of love on social media.
Twitch streamers.
Dude, it makes an impact, right, into people's perception of you. And there's so many different things now that give perception to players in this world. And 10, 15 years ago, no one gave a shite what people thought about you on Facebook. But now TikTok, Instagram, everything is so big. Like, I think it's really important to have a brand, which is why they fit New York style. Like,
exactly. The vibe is cool. The vibe fits. And even 34-year-old me got carried away with this, right? Remember we did our way too early predictions and I said, I'm on the New York Giants hype train. Because I got carried away by this hype around these players. But if you really look into it, it's still a second-year quarterback that had like half a good season. It's still Abdul Carter that had one above-average season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away.
100%. It's easy to get carried away.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but the coach does make a difference. So I think before
that's what I want to ask,
shakier coaches, I think Harbaugh's got a lot of respect in the NFL. I think he's can be a hard-nosed coach as well, likes to focus on the defense. So I think there's a lot that goes in the Giants' favor. They finally have an adult in the room, I think, is like the phrase I would use, right? Where it was a little bit of, not the inmates running the circus. Since like Eli's left, since the Manning went away, then there's not really been a real sense of maturity in the Giants organization as a whole. So I think they feel more mature. Although having said that, I have to ask you, outside of football, they've been very loud. Since the draft, there's been a couple of different things that they've done. Did you see Cam Skadaboo's backflip at Fanatics Fest, for example?
Yeah.
So if you had to pick, I already know which one my favorite one is. Out of all their off-field stuff in this offseason, which one was your favorite Giants moment?
I mean, I really, just because I've seen it live, I really like the Malik Neighbors live interviewing and live commenting on the draft and ripping into his own rookies and saying, I wouldn't have picked this guy. And that was just weird, man.
That was the GOATest If he never catches another ball in this league ever again, I will always remember Malik Neighbors for being on a live stream as a man's getting drafted, like talking shit. It easily was by far. Cam Scabby was up there. The backflip was crazy. He did not land it very cleanly. I thought Harbaugh dealt with it well. But the Malik Neighbors thing was dastardly, dude. Like, if you follow us on social Instagram, you can scroll back a few months. You'll see I had a very strong reaction to what happened there because I thought that was ludicrous. And I know that he got some wrist slaps. Something happened internally. I also didn't see him on another podcast afterwards or any
True. Good point.
Internet stuff. So maybe he got his ass slapped like he should.
Maybe Harbaugh is already changing the culture internally, right? And actually, I wanted to wrap this up with a question to you about Harbaugh, or rather, what do you follow more this season with the Giants? Do you want to see Harbaugh implementing his culture and his identity, and you're looking at that, or do you look more at Giants are successful if their rookies and their second-year rookies are performing like NFL starters? What's more important to you? Because one is more short-term maybe and one is more long-term.
They obviously are looking for a long-term project here because they gave him a 5-year contract, right? They didn't give him like a 2-year deal, which would say, all right, we're in like a win-now window, which I think it would be stupid of them to do anyway based on the roster that they had. But I think this is going to be an element of both. I think he's probably been brought in to see if these are the players that we can build around and we can really develop. Are these the guys that we need? He's probably going to be the one that's going to make that assessment. But I think over time, they want him to really instill himself on the organization. Like if I look back to like Tom Coughlin era Giants when they had a couple of Super Bowl runs and Eli, only person to beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. They had, again, like a real identity as an organization. They had people that were in those positions for long periods of time. So I don't think he's under any pressure, Harbaugh, to win year one. To be honest with you, I think the pressure is more on the players to always audition to see if they can be a part of his future, whether that be the next 10 years or whether that just be the next 5 up to that contract, or whether they make a decision 3 years in and say this isn't working. But I would put the onus more on the players than in Harbaugh for right now, because he's going to be able to ride his reputation for a good couple of seasons. And people will say, well, it's still the Giants. But if Jackson Dart, Cam, and Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter, they don't step it up, then you could easily point the fingers at them, in my opinion.
That's true. Reminds me, if you mention it like this, or if you say it like this, it reminds me a bit of Jürgen Klopp in football taking over the German national team. What you want to see is the culture changing. What you want to see is them playing more solid, more disciplined, right? Yeah. And maybe then they can still go 4-15 and 4-14, and it's kind of fine. It will be a success already.
Yeah.
But John Harbaugh said success is going into the playoffs. So let's see what happens. That's it for the Giants. Talked much more than I thought, actually. I didn't have that much prepared, but suddenly you always have something to say.
They're an interesting organization still. And it's another big blue chip. Like, we're going to talk about a couple of big blue chippers, I think, in this league. And when I say blue chippers, I mean like big time, well-known franchises. Again, to give you the football rendition, Real Madrid, your Barcelonas, your Man United, your Arsenals, Liverpools. Teams that are like renowned for being...
Sneak that one in there,
huh? You're lucky that I even included your lot. That are renowned for being the big stars of certain leagues. And I think the Giants are up there, right? They're a historic franchise. They did have some successful periods. They've got some of the best players to ever play in the league have played on the New York Giants. It's in New York. Even though they play in New Jersey, it's the premier New York team, and New York is a big sports town, right? So with the Yankees and the Rangers. So yeah, interesting year coming up for the Giants. I'll be intrigued to see where they sit. But keeping it moving, because I think we spent too much time on a team who probably won't make the playoffs, if I'm brutally honest with you. I'll move it to another interesting team in this division, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to say a team that if you know me or have heard me speak in the last few months, there's a team that I'm clearly saving for the end because I like to talk about them the most. But let's kick off with Philadelphia because they are in an interesting situation. So most would say probably quite a poor season for them last year. They finished 11-6. Ending with a wild card exit to a fairly beaten up 49ers team. I think they had to make some changes, and I think they did make some organizational changes. Howie Roseman, who's one of the more respected GMs in the league, made a couple of small tweaks and small moves that we'll see how they play out. The first and the biggest one on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to coaching comes down to them replacing OC Kevin Pachulo with Sean Mannion. So Sean Mannion will now run the offense. They kept Nick Sirianni as the head coach, and Vic Fangio will be the DC. So that team, and their roster still includes Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. So they have one of the NFL's deepest rosters on paper. They did lose, however, A.J. Brown. So if you'll remember, A.J. Brown was the premier receiver, but had quite a bit of beef with Nick Sirianni. And there was a lot of talk as to whether or not he would leave towards the end of the season. I think it mired a lot of what they were trying to do going into the playoffs. I think it was a dark cloud that was kind of hanging over everybody's head. Whether that was the organization's fault or A.J. Brown's fault, I guess we'll never truly understand. But it is now Devontae Smith.
But also the same storyline with A.J. Brown, we heard the season before that as well. And I think then they were still successful, even with that whole A.J. Brown distraction, right? We all remember him being on the sideline reading that book.
Really? Exactly. It's a great shout. And it's something you notice when you lose.
Yes,
was it
exactly,
a distraction, but they were successful. Saquon had, a couple of seasons ago when they won the Super Bowl, Saquon balled out. He had a good season last year, but it didn't exactly hit those heights again. So now you lose, now you're not as successful as you want to be. People tend to take a little bit more of a look. The A.J. Brown thing, again, year one, it's okay. But year two, it's got to be a bit more of a weight, a bit more of an anchor, in my opinion. So he has now moved on, signed with the New England Patriots, as we are all well aware. So Devontae Smith takes over as wide receiver number 1 in Philadelphia. And they also drafted Mekhi Lemon out of USC, who by all accounts has had a really good start to training camp. A lot of people are looking for him to develop into that number 2 spot. And they also drafted a tight end as well, Eli Stowers, to go with. I think they got Dallas Goedert still, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a pretty good skill position room that they've got as well. And again, Saquon Barkley still in the backfield. So not the best season for them at all. It's funny as well. We did a post, again, a few months ago, kind of about overs and unders on the coach carousel, right? We talked about potential coaches that could be fired earlier on in this season. And I've put Nick Sirianni on that list. And it was a little bit because Philadelphia is a sports town, but it's an emotional sports town. And they could absolutely be in a position where they fire a head coach 2 years after winning a Super Bowl if they feel that the franchise is not going in that right direction. But that is pretty much one of the, I guess, biggest storylines going into this season, right? Like, it feels like a make it or break it season for a couple of people inside the Philadelphia organization. Nick Sirianni being one of them, and I think the other one being Jalen Hurts. Like, Jalen Hurts gets a lot of, I don't know if the word is disrespect, but he doesn't get a whole bunch of respect. I feel like he's very much seen as like a in the middle.
You can say disrespect for someone that won the Super Bowl.
I feel like people expect more from him for a reason I can't imagine.
But why, if the team is successful? What more can you expect?
I think it's from him as a player. Like, if I look at how people talk about Brock Purdy, for example, people are happy with Brock Purdy being what Brock Purdy is, right? They're happy with him being a game manager to a point, elusive when he needs to be, controllable when he needs to be. But his main goal is managing the game. People are okay with that. People saw Jalen Hurts in college and thought, wow, this guy is going to be an MVP every single season. And even though he is and has developed into somewhat of a game manager, because they had so much more aspiration for him and his potential was so much higher, they're not happy with him falling into that bucket. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you look at what he's done over the last couple of years in mainly a run-heavy offense, he's managed the game really well and got a Super Bowl out of it. But still consistently is talked about in a way where he's not quite reached into his full bag, and he's maybe not as consistent as other quarterbacks in the league. It's not a personal view I hold, per se, but one of the things I hear most on First Take, Get Up, or any of these CBS stuff that you listen to is always about, can Jalen Hurts step it up this year? Can he be a little bit better? Can he throw the ball downfield a little bit? Can he be a little bit more aggressive when he needs to? Etc. etc. And it's a lot about.
I also think people don't like when they can't put a quarterback into a bucket or category, and it's something I'm struggling with myself with Jalen Hurts. I can't really put a name on what he's doing. We always like to talk about game managers, or I don't know, someone that is very good, has a good big throw or something like this, like a Justin Herbert. Yeah, you have a Lamar Jackson, this type of quarterback that loves to scramble. With Jalen Hurts, I don't really know what his identity as a quarterback is. Maybe that's my ignorance. But And I think maybe that doesn't help his case either, because you can't just say you can't put him into a bucket when you talk about him.
Yeah.
So what do you measure him against?
Exactly. And I think, but that's why people, I think, sometimes look on the negative side. Like there was times where I feel like they, as an offense, didn't throw the ball down the field enough. And AJ Brown's beef was, you don't throw me the ball enough. Cool.
Yeah.
But maybe they just needed to make changes, right? Sean Mannion's going to come in with a different type of offense. So he's going to be a little bit more of a system built around Jalen Hurts and that dual threat. So expect a lot of like run play options, a lot of play actions. And you do have Devontae Smith, who is a downfield receiver with the speed to burn. So you can beat people over the top. I think Mekhi Lemon will also offer you something in that scenario as well. So I think it's going to be a different offense. I think that was probably what's holding Jalen Hurts back the most. And now you got rid of AJ Brown, whether he was a great player or not. I think the curse of a big ego in the locker room still remained. And I think it still overhung a little bit. And that could have potentially affected what they did internally. But Harry Roseman is a good GM, like I said. He's made a lot of moves. I think this is Nick Sirianni's. I think he's had like 6 different coordinator changes, or they've had 5 different coordinators in the last 5 seasons, something like this.
Not only that, it's like he's successful with I've seen that his success stands and falls a little bit with his offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Like he had one good offensive coordinator, the coordinator leaves. Next offensive coordinator doesn't perform, gets fired. Gets a new offensive coordinator, successful, leaves.
Yeah.
And so on, right? It's a 1 year good, 1 year bad kind of situation.
Exactly.
Which then throws some shade on Nick Sirianni as a head coach as well. How much does he actually have a hand in the success?
How much does he do? And that's the point. I think that's why I have him on kind of on a hot seat, quote unquote. And we'll see how the season starts. I think the positives are, while they still kind of reevaluate themselves on offense, I think on defense, again, a lot of names we mentioned, Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, both viewed as kind of the brightest, youngest defensive backs in the NFL. Not the youngest, but like a young duo, for example, of defensive backs that people see really highly. Again, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. There are a couple players on this team where you look at them defensively. Yeah, exactly. And you look at them and you think, yeah, dude, that's a good team. Like I said, on paper, statistically, we talked last week about having to pick a team to face the Rams if you were to pick one and you were to base it off Madden numbers. Yeah. I think Philly is probably super close to being the team that you would pick in that regard. So I guess the talking points or things to kind of watch out for as we go down the road here. What does Sean Mannion's offense look like, right? Will he blend well with Jalen Hurts? Is this going to be another up year, or is this going to be a down year with a different coordinator? Can Jalen Hurts have, I beg to say, a breakout season when he's already got a Super Bowl, but like another season to kind of really silence everyone who's still maybe on the fence about him? Devontae Smith, can he break out as a true number one receiver? Mekhi Lemon needs to develop. And then can their defense hold up and be as productive as it was in the last couple of seasons? If so, I think the Eagles are going to be pretty nasty this season. I mean, they're always there and thereabouts. I mean, I say poor season. 11-6 isn't terrible. I think them going out to the 49ers, a beat-up 49ers team as well, was not what they expected. So for them, it's a poor season. I expect them to come back with a plum. But what about you, Shads? How sold are you on the Eagles offense now without AJ Brown? Do you think they replaced enough with what they drafted? Yeah. Are you still worried about them scoring points?
I'm glad that you make me focus on the offense, because I just want to say I'm not worried about the defense at all. If anything, they have the best defense in this division. And we're going to talk about the Commanders and the Cowboys. I'm really worried about their secondary, for example. And I look at Eagle, I have the depth chart here in front of me. The secondary is stacked. They have such a good, like you say, defensive backs, safeties, cornerbacks. Great. Offense, on the other hand, you framed it a lot about Jalen Hurts, but for me, it's also in general about the run game. And Jalen Hurts, for me, is part of the run game. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if this is something that didn't work last season due to the scheme, so the OC, due to the offensive coordinator, or because Saquon Barkley was just not the same anymore. And that's the part where I'm a bit worried, but because if you can't fix the run game, you can't get a good baseline on the run game, then what's the rest? What does the rest of your plan look like? Do you just keep slinging it out to Devonta Smith and Mekhi Lemon, who's a rookie, high expectations then? I'm not sure. I think you need to fix the run game first here. If you look, I mean, I want to throw a question back at you, and then I answer your question. If you look at Saquon Barkley's last seasons, let's say last 4 seasons, he had 1,300 yards in 2022, 962. Then he had this big 2,000er season, and then last season 1,140, right?
Yeah.
So let's say he has another season now, 1,000 yards, thereabouts, 900 to 1,200. The second running back is Tank Bixby, not, let's say, the most stacked running back room.
Yeah.
Do you think they can be successful if Saquon Barkley has a 1,000-yard season? And what do you make of Saquon Barkley if that happens? Is he really that elite as we all thought after that 2,000er season?
I mean, to answer your last question, yes. Like, is Saquon Barkley an elite running back? Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
I think he's had enough, especially like the injuries that he's bounced back from as well. Like, I think bar that 2021 season, he's not had over 100 carries and not got close to 1,000 yards. And if you look at the season he had, the 2000, he averaged almost 6 yards per carry, which is ludicrous. So 2 runs is getting him a first down. I think that's the bigger problem. If you look at last year, he had, how many is that? 60 less carries than he did when he got to 2,000 yards, and dropped down like 1.7 yards per carry. So it went from 5.8 to 4.1, which might tie into some of the offensive line, maybe some of the schemes that you talked about as well. But that's a big deal, right? Because now 2 runs doesn't get you a first down. We're just running on Saquon. So you have to then pull more of the passing game into it.
Exactly.
I think the offense is predicated around Sean Mannion running a lot of play action and RPO is going to be important, though, because you have to respect Saquon Barkley. You can't leave him to his own devices. So if I'm running 6 play actions in a row, there's a chance as a defense, I'm going to nibble, because if I leave him one time open, then that he can break it for a 60, 70 yard run because he's still got the athleticism. So I think, absolutely, Saquon is elite. There's no doubt about it. I think the yards per carry is the most important stat to track for him specifically as far as what impact that has on the offense.
Yeah. And do you agree that, so I'm focusing a lot on the running game here with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about the new OC. If he can fix the run game, then yes, there's nothing. I'm not too worried about the receiver room. I think the receiver room is going to be fine, and they're going to finish first in that division, and they can make it even further. If they can't have any legitimate running threat, then I'm more worried about it.
Yeah, I absolutely wouldn't agree with you. I wouldn't disagree with you at all. I think it's a running threat, and also we don't know what they're going to look like passing the ball because AJ Brown's not been there for a while. We don't know what Devontae looks like. We don't know what Mekhi Lemon looks like. So there is a lot of question marks, I think, on them going forward. But the good thing is defense win championships. And if you're happy with what they've got on D, then the offense can work itself out. There's still a lot of talented skill players in that group. So let's see how we get on in that regard. But that was it for the Eagles. We've hit our limit now. I'm trying to keep these 15-minute chunks if we can, but we are terrible at timekeeping. And if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that for a fact. So let's keep it trucking. Shad, you're back up on the clock. Who are we talking about next?
Washington Commanders.
Ooh. An uninterestingly interesting one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a very good. I think we can leave it at that. I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines going on, but they're not the most interesting team next season, let's say.
They're really not.
They're probably not a playoff contender, let's say, in this league, in this division. Maybe to frame it right, I need to mention one number, the number 10. Okay. That's how many games Jaden Daniels started last season. Only 10 games. He was injured had knee problems, he had hamstring problems, he had elbow problems, started 10 games out of 17. After he had that whole Cinderella, beautiful rookie season where everything was, Dave, you help me out here, you have the right words usually to describe positive things, but he had this beautiful first season. Everything was dandy.
It was easy. It looked easy. I wouldn't even go into too much of it. He looked like he'd been in the league for a few years. It looked like he was due to be the second coming of name your star quarterback.
Exactly. Everything worked. He was running, he was scrambling, he was throwing. Everything worked. So basically everything we will talk about a lot of things today. Again, I always like to go into the coordinator changes. I like to go into the roster moves. But all of it is secondary to, can Jaden Daniels stay healthy and can he pick up that form again, right? That's I need to get that out of the way. It all stands and falls with that. So 2 years ago, they had this NFC championship game. They didn't win it, but they had this NFC championship game. They came quite far in the playoffs. And then last season they collapsed, finished 5-12. A lot of blame on those Jane Daniel injuries. Maybe fair, maybe not. But in the end of the day, the organization didn't try to hide behind injuries.
Mhm.
They made aggressive moves in the offseason. They didn't say, oh, we were bad because of injuries. No, they said, we need to change our coordinator. So they changed their offensive coordinator, changed their defensive coordinator, kept the head coach, Dan Quinn. So they only changed the coordinators and added pieces like Odafe Owe, Rashad White, Javon Kinlaw. Those are kind of prominent figures in the NFL that they've added on the talent side of things. So as I mentioned, they fired both coordinators, Cliff Kingsbury on offense. I think he was the Cardinals head coach at some point, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he was indeed.
So yeah, then went as OC to the Commanders, and he's out. And they fired Joe Witt Jr. on defense. And maybe for the people that are newer to the NFL, there's something worth mentioning here, because you might ask, okay, why didn't they just fire the head coach, which is usually what happens in football, right? The head coach is the one responsible for everything, in soccer, sorry. But in American football, it's not necessarily like that. The coordinators first carry the responsibility, and then if the coordinator change also doesn't lead to results, well, then it's the head coach's turn.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how it works here. So Dan Quinn stays, gets another chance, but needs to show that he can perform after a reset of coordinators. And that could be a positive signal. They're not panicking. They improve the team. They still believe in what they've built. It's a defense last season that finished 27th in points allowed and dead last in yards allowed. So very bad defense. An offense that just didn't happen because of injuries, like we said. Yeah, you can tell that my storyline is a lot, or the story that I'm building here is a lot about the OC changes and the DC changes. So maybe let's go into that a bit. So David Blau comes in as an offensive coordinator. This guy is 30 years old.
That's mad.
30 years old. And he's going to be the offensive coordinator, and I think even the play caller, if I don't get it wrong.
Wow.
With 30 years old, 4 years younger than me. He was an assistant quarterback coach before this, so he knows Jaden Daniels inside out. So that's good for them. And here's where we get maybe a little bit into the scheme. Kingsbury's offense was a shotgun scheme, spread the field. Okay. Put Jaden Daniels in space, and then let Jaden Daniels make the decision on the fly. Let him either scramble or hit a big shot downfield, depending on how the defense reacts. But it was a lot based on the fly reactions. Yeah. So the moment that this didn't work anymore, or the defenses last season started to figure out Jaden Daniels a bit more, or throw stunts at him and be like, hey, welcome to the NFL now, your rookie year's over. It all crumbled down. It was not anymore finesse enough. Yeah.
They also probably didn't have the skill players probably up front or really in the receiver room, but from Scary Terry to actually make that offense work, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So they were last season last in under center snaps, and that's what they want to change. So much more under center, play action, much more physical run game. And what that means for the people out there that are not experts here on schemes, it means a much more versatile offense, disguising pass plays here and there to give maybe more structure to the offense as well. It means that Jaden Daniels has to improvise less. Yeah, he can under pressure. It means he can play way more in structure, way more disciplined, but also means that you probably don't have these big breakout scrambles and these big moments that he had in his first season, right? It's more structured, basically.
Yeah, they probably didn't want him to get hit as much.
Exactly.
He had the Jackson Dart problem where he just runs into traffic with his head out.
Yeah, exactly. So under center means as well that he's going to get hit less. He gets more protection and more time. That's the idea that they're having here. Again, it makes sense, but it's Blau's first year ever play calling at this level. So let's see how this goes. But the idea makes sense to me. Let's see how it works. I would move on to defense now, Dave. Unless anything to add here. Yeah.
No, I think there was injuries. Injuries make it hard to talk about things. It wasn't like the scheme was bad. We saw them right live against the Dolphins in Madrid, and it was an absolute stinker. I think Marcus Mariota was the starting quarterback. So yeah, it's a case of can they bounce back? I think they had a couple of interesting draft picks as well. So I'll keep an eye out for them. And Jaden Daniels is a mercurial talent. So I'd like for him to do well. But it's hard to say when the whole team was broken.
I like that they're not hiding behind the defense excuse, though. Yeah. I like that they're trying to give Jaden Daniels a bit more of a structured offense. Yeah, that's not relying so much on creativity and on how do you call this, scrambling and out of the system games. Or
like I mean, they're banking on the sheer talent of the player versus putting him in a situation like which you could do with any good talent, but it also probably shows a lack of offense that they had ready for this man to run. So again, excited to see him in an actual position to go forward. And again, staying healthy, that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, exactly that. And then we have the defense. So on defense, Daronte Jones is coming in from Minnesota Vikings as the defensive coordinator. He wants to play very aggressive, which makes sense with the talent that the Commanders have on defense. They have a good D-line, I would say. They've added Sonny Styles as well, who can cover a lot of space, who can enable them to play aggressive. So it makes a lot of sense for the Commanders to play aggressive. The issue is that all these disguised tactics and aggression on the front, they can mask weaknesses, but they can't fully cover for them. And the weakness I'm talking about here is the secondary. They have a very weak cornerback and secondary room. They already had that last season, and they didn't do really anything to fix that.
Yep.
Unlike the Eagles, for example, they have a great cornerback room. So once those blitzes and pressure packages don't work anymore, they might get exposed on that secondary. And that's worrying because you're inviting big plays.
Yeah.
Maybe just to summarize strengths and weaknesses. On offense, they still got Terry McLaurin, still borderline top 10 receiver, but getting older, but he gives you a floor. Krosky Merritt and Rashad White on running back. That's a decent running back room as well.
Yep.
And then above everything, Jaden Daniels, like I say, all of this stands and falls with him. And on weakness, most likely, for me, the secondary is the biggest weakness. And they had one of the worst defenses last season. They didn't fix their secondary, so I don't know how they expect to get better on that. They might have a better front. They might have more aggressive blitzes. That might work. More pressure under the quarterbacks, but they still can invite a lot of big plays against themselves.
Yeah. And it's interesting as well, they didn't draft any DBs.
No, they didn't do anything on there. They're focusing completely on this aggressive side, on trying to stop and win at the line of scrimmage, but the coverage is not really sorted at the moment. No.
Interesting.
Dave, one question. The odds on them are to finish around 7.5, over or under. So that's the story with them. Do you take the over here or do you take the under here? Basically, the question is, do you think they can bounce back and we have a sleeper team here with the Commanders and they can actually pick up where they left in 2024 and they get 11, 12 wins, something like this? Or do you think, no, what we saw last season of them is actually what they are and they will finish below 7.5?
I'll take the under. I think 7-10 would be a good season for them. I think that the defense is just too weak. I mean, Sonny Styles is a nice draft pick. It's a nice pickup. I like him. He's got some good coverage skills as well for a linebacker and can also rush the pass. I think he was an absolute dog in Ohio State. But I do think overall, I have them probably winning 7 games. So technically it's close, but I would take the under.
Same. I take the under here. The one thing that I'm probably most excited about here is Jaden Daniels and Sonny Styles, because Sonny Styles immediately is taking the mic responsibility.
Yes.
So he's immediately organizing the defense, kind of calling the plays on defense, which is a big responsibility for a rookie. But he comes in there and just apparently he's going to take that and going to be starting as middle linebacker immediately, which is, let's see. I'm excited for him.
I'm super pumped. But an interesting team. Again, we talked about these, like sometimes these like middle of the road teams. I think we talked about the Cardinals, for example, last week, right? Like you could talk for hours about everything they've changed. The overall, I guess, question you always need to ask is, are they going to be better? I think they'll be slightly better. I'm interested to see how the offense shakes out and how the development goes there. I don't have them power ranked very high in the NFL in general, but this is maybe someone that we can come back to like a mid-season review and do like a where are they now on some of the teams that we thought would be a bit worse for wear and see the comparisons. Let us know in the comments if you have the Commanders higher up on your board. And Shadi gave the over-under. Do you think they're going to go over 7.5 wins or under? Let us know below. But good wrap up there, Shads, on the Commanders. Last for today on NFC East before we go ahead and give the league a ranking is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, of course, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys because if you, again, heard anything that I've said on the internet for the last 4 months, I sneakingly think the Cowboys are going to be pretty bloody good this year. I also have finished the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders Season 3 show, and I'm up to date on all of that. Good stuff as well.
Oh, there was a third season. Okay.
Yeah. Check it out. It's on Netflix. I am fully engrossed in all things Dallas for some reason. And they are my sleeper team for this year, absolutely. Before we start, though, I want to read some hilarious facts because I don't say I support the Dallas Cowboys. That's a bit too far. But I do like to keep an eye on them. But keeping an eye on them also comes with some interesting statistics that you find out when you do your research. So, did you know that the Dallas Cowboys hold the longest active NFC Championship game drought in NFL history, having gone 30 consecutive seasons without reaching the conference finals since their last appearance in 1996.
Wow.
Every single other team has reached the NFC Championship game since the Cowboys last reached it in 1996.
Wow.
But there's more. Since 1996, they only have 5 total playoff wins in 30 seasons. 5 total in that entire period. And this, again, is a blue chip franchise, right? Ran by the house that Jerry built, America's team, all that nonsense. And they have won 5 total playoff games in 30 years. I got 2 more for you. Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a name I bet you didn't think I was going to mention right now, has made it to 7 conference championship games, starting 3 of them, and the Cowboys haven't made one. No shade to Jimmy G, but Jimmy G owns the Cowboys, apparently. And my last one's about Dak. So Dak Prescott has only accounted for 2 of those playoff wins in his 11-year career. It is insane to think that Dak Prescott has been in the league 11 years already. That does not feel like it's been long enough. I feel like sports years are like the opposite of dog years, where they're like actually doing 3 years in the same time. So Dak has only won 2 playoff games in his 11-year career. He has a regular season passer rating of 97%. And for those of you who do not know exactly what the passer rating means, it is a combination of 4 core components. Your completion percentage, so how many passes are caught, yards per attempt, how far the ball travels per throw, touchdown percentage, how often a pass scores, and interception percentage, so how often the ball is turned over. So being 97% is obviously a really high number, and there is no active QB in the NFL with a passer rating of 97 or above who has less playoff wins than Dak Prescott.
You dug deep.
I dug deep into the well for this because there's so much. Dude, I could have spent 25 minutes just talking about funny stats of things that have happened since Cowboys last won. I saw one crazy one where I think they were closer to landing on the moon. Like it was closer to them landing on the moon when they won 30 years ago than it is today. Like there's all kinds of stats. You could go for hours. Yeah. But this is basically the same conversation we're going to have about the Cowboys we have every year. Is this the year? Right? Is this the year that Jerry finally gets another Super Bowl and can blissfully turn 1,000 years old with peace in his heart? Is Dak Prescott going to try and finally prove that he is top 3 and has been for the last decade? We just haven't been noticing. They finished 7-9 last year, right? Was not what they expected to do. They had a lot of beef as well with the George Pickens scenario. They traded Micah Parsons. They had a lot of drama hanging around the franchise, and I don't think it helped them very much. They missed the playoffs for the 2nd consecutive season. They did keep Brian Schottenheimer as he returns for his 2nd season, but I think the expectations on him have drastically changed. They are no longer in any sort of quote-unquote rebuild. They are very much in a built-to-win-now situation. And I think they do have a roster that actually backs that up. On the offensive side, you've got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. George Pickens obviously playing on the franchise tag for now, and Javonte Williams as a running back. They also have quite a retooled defense as well. So they brought in Quinnen Williams from the Jets, who is a really, really good D tackle. They got Rashawn Gary for basically a bag of nickels. And then they went ahead and drafted a couple interesting defensive players as well. They drafted Caleb Downs. They drafted Malachi Lawrence, who's an edge rusher. And they had Deron Bland re-signed for quite a fat contract as well. So,
Dave, saying they have a retooled defense is a bit of an understatement. I think they completely the D-line is completely changed almost, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Well, they had to. I mean, they were in an era. I was looking at Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs was like the second coming of Revis Island with Darrelle Revis, right? It's only a few years ago he got paid the absolute bag by the Cowboys. And it didn't work out. I feel like the Cowboys, among other big franchises, have a big high rate of busts or players just not hitting their quote-unquote potential for an extended period of time. So I put a lot of players in that bucket, but I think their defense had to be retooled because they gave up 30.1 points per game in 2025.
Yeah.
That is
They had a bottom five or bottom three defense on pretty much all measures. Yeah.
Untenable.
Yeah.
So what they've done to fix that,
they had Dave. They had a top 5 offense and a bottom 5 defense.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not surprised, dude. Dak is elite. Say what you want about him, and he might do weird press conferences and do that weird thing with his hips when he warms up. Yeah. But Dak Prescott is an elite quarterback in the NFL. And the stats don't lie, right? Like that is absolutely a fact. The defense is
CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Javonte Williams. They have a good, no question,
Luke
no doubt.
Schoonmaker, I think is their tight end. I just like saying his last name. But their defense has been pants it's been toilet for the last few years. So they have brought in not only just the new players, but they've also got a new coordinator. So Christian Parker comes in and he inherits the defense. He is only 34 years old. So again, another young coordinator entering into the NFL. I think he's a black guy, which is cool. So excited to see kind of what he does. Again, Brian Schottenheimer entering into this second season as head coach. I don't think he gets one more if they don't make a decent playoff push. I think there's absolutely be his last nod. A lot of people were surprised they kept him again, but I think Jerry Jones is trying to show some faith here. I also think Jerry is getting older, and I don't think he has the time necessarily to keep chopping and changing things so willy-nilly because they do take time to click, right? It's very rare that you bring in a new piece, everything falls into place with the roster, and you immediately go ahead and win a championship. So I think Jerry Jones is looking at this as, if this is my last hurrah, this year will tell me if I can hang my hat on Brian Schottenheimer or not. Offensively, I don't think they need to change all that much, to be honest with you.
No,
they have, like you said, top 5 offense. This is a very similar situation to who we were just talking about with
Commanders.
Yeah, with the Commanders.
I agree.
Like I think the offense is in a good place, but defensively, can they keep 30 bloody points a game out of the end zone? That's a huge number to overcome and to overscore. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it, dude. Dak Prescott needs to have another Dak Prescott type season. He was MVP level candidates before. This is probably the first full season of defense without the Micah Parsons shadow. Can they really now take a step forward? Caleb Downs is a rookie. Mekhi Lawrence is a rookie. Can they take this defense in a new direction under Christian Parker? CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens as a combo. CeeDee Lamb's not playing for the bag per se, but George Pickens is playing for the bag. He wants to go as a big number 1 receiver next year. He may not re-sign in Dallas. He's playing under the franchise tag. He has to play well because it determines the next year of your money. So he has never been more incentivized to have a breakout season than he could have this time around. And it's, will the Cowboys win more than one playoff game? I'll give you an over and under right now. Do you think the Cowboys, over or under Cowboys winning one playoff game this season?
I go under.
Really? You're not that high on them at all?
I still have problems with the defense, similar as with the Commanders. I don't have problems with the offense at all, but in a conference where you have, in a division where you have the Eagles, and in a division where also the Giants maybe got a bit better. First of all, I'm not even sure if they're going to get into the playoffs at all.
Whoa, that's about cool.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, yes, they did moves on defense, but for me, it's almost the same as with the Commanders. They didn't fix their secondary that much.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Downs takes a step in that direction.
But it's a rookie still.
Yeah, I'm just giving another Google now just to see who's on the depth chart. But I think Deron Bland as a cornerback is good. The safeties now, they got Malik Hooker still. They got Jalen Thompson. They also brought in Kobe Durant from the Seahawks, which is a big signing on defense. So I think the way you phrased it at the beginning, like a retooling.
Sorry, Kobe Durant came from the Rams.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Who am I thinking about that came from the Seahawks? Kobe Bryant, I'm talking about, Anna.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, scratch that. You're absolutely right. Came from the Rams. But I still think they did add some players. They add some depth at least. And they've got a good defensive line. Yes. We'll see what Lawrence turns out to be and develops to be. The golden point is if they can just give up 20 points per game versus 30, they'll win 6 more games this year. So I think they're on a very thin line of like really high class and being dumb again. And that's the ever-loving story about the Cowboys. There's always something to talk about with them. But I just think this is the season.
But that's assuming the defense is getting better and the offense stays exactly the same. Because it is to be fair, it is an unchanged offense. So nothing says that it can't stay the same, but players can also make steps back.
They could do. But I mean, these are guys entering more of their prime as opposed to like over the hill situations, right? Some people are playing for contracts. Some people are playing for their future. So again, do I think one more season they're going to be as formidable, or dominating, whatever the bloody word is? I think so. So I'm surprised you said under. That means that you think they'll get to the wild card or they'll get to their first round bye matchup and lose immediately. That would be savage. It'd be interesting, but I couldn't put it past them, because if you look based on previous examples, they have shown you who they are for the last 30 years, right? We had the Tony Romo years where Tony Romo was the second coming of Troy Aikman and all these kind of nonsense things that happen, and they didn't win no bloody games either. But Jerry Jones' clock is ticking, bless him, metaphorically and physically. So he hasn't got a whole bunch of time, and that man really wants to win a bloody Super Bowl. So more power to them. God willing, they'll get it done. But that's my wrap up on the Cowboys. Definitely a team we will talk about more going forward, so do not worry about that at all.
You seem a bit rattled by that I said under.
I'm surprised. I mean, again, like, they scored a lot of points and they gave up a lot of points. But what you're saying essentially is the tweaks they made on defense don't move the needle for you enough to put them in a different category, which is fair enough, right? Like, it's not like they.
And I mean, the offense did fire out of, like, the offense was so much above everything else last season.
Yeah,
I could see the offense taking not a huge step down. I mean, there's still, I mean, like I said, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and so on. Like, talent doesn't die like this from one day to the other.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, okay, maybe the defense has more games where they hold the opponent to 20 points, but maybe the offense has more games where they just score 20 points.
Yeah.
And not 30, 40 every time.
No, we'll see. We'll definitely see. But don't you worry. Mark my words. We will talk about this team again in the weeks to come. And as the season rolls on, they will be my sleeper team. And maybe we'll pick a team each, Shads, that we can call our sleeper. And you let us know in the comments what your sleeper could be. Like a team that people maybe aren't looking at as progressing super far. Maybe they were a bit shitty last year and you're thinking they're going to have a bigger turnaround. Have a think what your team could be and let us know in the comments. Mine, again, just based on last season and going forward, is probably going to be the Cowboys. Like, I won't be able to avoid them.
I agree.
But to finish us up today, as we have done so far with our previous breakdown, go on, Shads, you got more?
Before we go into the ratings and to the rankings, one thing I forgot to mention when I talked about the Commanders, and I really want to mention it because it made me lol when I was doing my research. I was laughing a bit. There's a receiver on the Commanders roster, Traylon Burks. Does the name ring the bell?
Yeah, did he play at Michigan, if I'm not mistaken? But maybe he didn't.
I'm not sure which college he played, but he was a 22 first rounder.
Okay.
Titans picked him up. Do you know how Titans managed to pick him up in the first round of the draft? How they got that pick?
No, tell me.
They traded away AJ Brown.
That's crazy.
So they traded away AJ Brown, and then with the first round pick that they received, they drafted Traylon Burks, who now is the maybe second receiver of the receiver room from the Commanders is very, like, the first receiver is McLaurin, but the second receiver is very open at the moment. We don't know yet who's going to be. Traylon Burks is one candidate. Wow. But yeah, just found that funny that how the NFL works sometimes.
Yeah, you never know what you got until it's gone, I think is the phraseology I like to use.
Yes.
But dope. No, that is interesting and cool. And let us know again, like I said in the comments, if you have any different lineups as far as any breakdowns, any narratives, any stories that you think of the teams that we mentioned today. Let us know in the comments. We're going to run real quick now through the predictions of where we're going to think the NFC East is going to land. I'll kick off this one first this week because I think Shads went first last week. Mine's going to be real simple and real easy. I think coming in at number 4, I have the Commanders. I think that's fairly easy to say. I think they pick up a little bit, but I don't think business is picking up that much. I then have...
What you're saying, by the way, you say very easy to say, but this is not the common prediction. Usually people have Giants on 4. So you're going against what is common to say, let's say. And so that's already an interesting opinion you have. And I have the same opinion, by the way. I also have Commanders as last.
Okay, then we might have very similar lists for the first time so far in doing this.
Yeah.
But I've got the Commanders coming in at last. I think it's a tight one with the Giants, but I do think that the Giants have improved in better positions. I also think that DB side of things you talked about with the Commanders is a real worry. So I don't think they're going to be able to stop people raiding on them. And I think they're going to lose a lot of games as a result. Maybe still get to 7 wins, but I had them under the 7.5 anyway. So I'm comfortable there. Coming in number 3, I've got the Giants. I think the New York Football Giants will be better. I think they'll be exciting to watch, but there's still too many unknowns. There's an unknown QB in there who hasn't played a full whole season yet. An unknown running back with the same problem. Same with the receiver. The defense will be a little bit better, especially under Harbaugh there. But we'll see. I just don't know how big of a turnaround they're going to make year 1 with Harbaugh in seats. Then we got an interesting one. So sticking with my sleeper team, I'm going to have the Eagles coming in as the second in that division.
You have to.
Yeah.
After all that buzz this offseason about the Cowboys, you cannot sit here and seriously say, "Oh yeah, Cowboys second."
Yeah, sleeper. I do think the Eagles will win double-digit games again this season. I just think that the Cowboys have a chance to do something like 14-3 or something like that, right? And have like a real breakout season if everything clicks. I think the Eagles are still working some stuff out. I think 1 year after A.J. Brown leaving isn't, again, the end of the world. I don't want to put too much pressure on how A.J. Brown made everything click and he was the best thing coming since sliced bread.
I honestly don't think A.J. Brown was the issue last season. I really think
it was a new offense. Like I'm saying, Can Devontae be a number 1 receiver? Does it?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If A.J. Brown gets double teamed, did that leave situations open for other people? If you don't have somebody like A.J. that you respect as much, do you double team as much? Do you run more blitzes now against the Eagles? Do you feel more comfortable defending Devontae and Mekhi Lemon? These are the questions I think has the impact. So I have them winning a good amount of games, but I still have them coming second in the division. And then again, like I said, I think the Cowboys, for me, are going to blow everyone away this season. And this might be the year they make a deep playoff run. So I'll recap. I got the Commanders at 4, Giants at 3, Eagles at 2, and the Cowboys at 1. Shadi, what about you?
Commanders at 4. I don't think a 30-year-old first-time play caller will fix their offense that had only one dangerous wide receiver in Terry McLaurin, and otherwise the wide receivers room is still not settled.
I agree.
It's a lot of responsibility only on Jaden Daniels' back and on the running backs' back. Yep. Plus the secondary that wasn't fixed. Yes, they have a great D-line and excited to see Sonny Styles. There's exciting things that I want to see with the Commanders, but I don't think they're going to have a great season. Maybe even just 5 wins or something. Do it go really disastrous. And then that would mean head coach is gone. Hot seat.
Yeah, definitely.
Giants, I would love, after my early statements a couple of months ago, to put them on 2, but I cannot sit here with a serious face and say that. So the more I researched it from a less emotional perspective and more from a, football mind perspective, yes, they're not going to finish first or second, they're going to be third. But it's probably the most interesting project for me in this division. So I'm going to follow this one closely. Cowboys on 2. We just had a longer discussion about that, so no need to repeat that. And then Eagles on 1. I think they're still the most balanced team. Vic Fangio is still the DC, right?
Yeah.
We know that he can put together a good defense. The defense is stacked. They're going to hunt the quarterbacks in this division. And yes, maybe the offense is different without A.J. Brown, but together with that defense, they're still overall the best team in this division. Yeah. And maybe even the best, still overall one of the best team in this conference.
Yeah.
And then
can't argue too much with that. So the only thing that we flipped on, you had the Commanders at 4, the Giants at 3, you had the Cowboys at 2, and then you had the Eagles winning the division. Okay, so we only flipped on 2 of them. And I think both of those teams still make the playoffs, in my opinion, regardless of where they finish or the rank. I still think most of those teams make the playoffs. So interesting. So this is going to be a very interesting division to watch. And an interesting division in the sense of sometimes this division has historically been a little boring. The Giants have always been potentially a little bit poor. The Commanders/Redskins haven't always been great. The Eagles have had up and down seasons. Cowboys have had up and down seasons as well. So this can go from being the best division in football to being one of the worst, least watchable divisions in football. We'll have to wait and see. But let us know in the comments how you would stack rank the NFC East today. Let us know if you agree with Shadi and I, or if you think there is a better mix for those teams, like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, anywhere in between. Anything short of writing me a letter to my house would be acceptable. But I've enjoyed this as always. Shad, I love when we get a chance to get together and well researched and well dug in today. I think we did a good hard graft. Anything else you would like to say before we peace out for this week?
See you later at dinner, Dave. And everyone else.
We've got dinner tonight, so we can chat more podcasting. This would be the after.
That's usually what happens. We always sit together and just chat about football all the time. Yeah,
that's it. We should record this and then charge people like a Patreon to watch it afterwards. Behind the scenes. This is how the sausage is made, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, that reminds me. I would love to know how people are consuming the podcast. Like, what are they doing while they're listening to this? But yeah, we're gonna have dinner later.
Let us know in the comments. But cool, we appreciate you as always. Shad, I appreciate your time and your wonderful face. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff that we need to help grow the channel. Other than that, we will leave you to your day, and we will do this again next week.
Peace out.